Hello again everyone, welcome to my reflection for chapter 111 of Seraph of the End. Oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about in this one. If you're new here, happy to have you. I tend to be calmer in my reflection videos compared to my reactions, so there will be less swearing in this one, but you can still expect the odd F-bomb, so you have been warned. And this is a reflection video, so, this might not be a cup of tea if you don't like analysis. And with that, guys, please pull up a chair, make yourselves comfortable, pour yourself a good old cup of tea, and let's get into this reflection. This chapter made me happier than I have been in a very long time with Seraph of the End. It gave me a much needed cathartic release to see you and Guren finally going at it. But we need to sort of delve into the sort of psychology and mentality of you here. Like, what is he actually doing? Are we seeing what on the surface we seem to be seeing? So, point one, is you actually a secret mastermind? So, Yu puts a set of questions to Guren in this chapter. 3 questions. Do you like me? Are you using me? And did you work with Ferid to kill my family? These are questions that you should already know the answer to. Go back to previous chapters and Guren has point blank told you that he is being used for a higher purpose. We've seen you questioning Guren's involvement with the orphan's death. So the questions that he's asking Guren, you already knows the answers to these, or he should know. Possibility 1 is that he's forgotten that he ever asked these questions of Guren or that he was ever shown this information. Maybe he's forgotten or he's blocked it out due to trauma and therefore he needs to hear these answers again from Guren. He needs another confirmation. That's one possibility. The second possibility I think is more interesting, which is that you already knows the answers to these questions, and what he's actually doing by asking them to Guren is applying psychological pressure. He's manipulating Guren, or trying to psychologically, in order to get actual answers out of him about this grand plan of bullshit. It's almost like a hostage negotiation, actually. He begins trying to kind of humanize the relationship that the pair of them share. He begins with saying, this is why you're important to me. You're the man who saved my life. I care about you, and therefore I'm going to speak honestly. And then he puts the questions to Guren, expecting honest responses. And I think of those 3 questions, the one that Yu is actually interested in, the one that will open up the conversation to the rest of the grand plan, is the third one. I think that that's the one that you wanted an honest answer for, so that he could then continue down that line of questioning. But of course Guren evades that answer. He won't answer yes or no at all. He tries to justify and excuse himself, which Yu doesn't let him do. God bless him. Actually, okay, I take that back, because you not letting Guren speak and explain himself in this way might actually prove problematic and detrimental to them learning answers, because Yu is a black and white character. He deals in absolutes. He deals in, yes or no. He deals in family or not family. That's all he understands. And Guren is not a black and white character. Guren is morally grey. He does bad things, but for good reasons, with good intentions. You not letting Guren explain himself could have bad repercussions going forward. But we all understand that Yu just wants Guren to bloody talk and talk honestly. We understand that. And I sympathise greatly with Yu in this chapter, obviously. So yeah, I think that's what Yu's objective was here. He didn't actually need to know the answer to number 3 because he knows the answer. He knows that the answer is yes. Guren wouldn't give him the answer. Instead, it devolves into a fight from there. So, interesting questions leading from that are, well, if Yu already knows the answers, how does he know the answers? Does he actually remember them off his own back? Has he been, logging what Guren has been doing this entire time? Has he been conscious of these betrayals? Did he basically ignore the fact that Mika was sliced up like a pizza in chapter 90 by his beloved father figure? That's kind of problematic. Or does he know because he now has Mika with him? He has Mika as the brains to his body. Because it was Mika, if you remember in the previous chapter, that came to the realization that Ferid was working with Guren. Mika was the one that put the puzzle pieces together, and assuming they share their memories, thoughts, emotions, etc., that realization would have been passed on to you as a result. So yeah, I would like to think that it's that, and that's how Yu knows. He knows because Mika is a smart boy. And I would like to think that the rest of Yu's memories are still spotty. And that means that Yu is not this ultimate mastermind that some people have had him pinned as. Some people have taken this as far as saying that Yu was deliberately playing dumb and actually always planned to turn on Guren in this way, and that the only reason he didn't do it until now is because he needed Guren's help to rescue Mika. And if you remember, Mika was only saved, and I use the word saved loosely because he's still a fucking sword, in chapter 109. So yeah, he needed Guren's help up until that point, and now we're seeing Yu turn the tables on Guren. I personally don't agree with that interpretation that Yu is like this ultimate chess player. Basically, I fall somewhere in between here. First of all, Yu is in the truck with the squad, he's just chilling out, he's laughing. So at that point, he seems perfectly willing to go along with the plan. And he's willing up until Mika suggests to Yu that they need to get answers out of these motherfuckers before we get used like pawns and discarded. And it's only after listening to Mika's warning, and thank God he listens to Mika. I don't know by what miracle of character development you decided to listen to Mika in this chapter, but thank fuck, because that has been a long-standing problem between them where Yu has just ignored Mika's warnings. So finally, we sort of see Yu respecting Mika's wishes here. It's only then that Yu starts to confront Guren. So yeah, I do think that we are seeing an intelligent side to Yu in this chapter. We're seeing his emotional intelligence when he tries to apply that psychological pressure to Guren. But I think that what's driving it is his concern for Mika. When Mika raises his objections, Yu is respecting that, and that is what is driving him to then question Guren in this chapter. So yeah, my next point is this the end for Guren? Are we witnessing right now a fight to the death between Yu and Guren? Is this going to be the final end of the toxic father-son relationship that we've been tortured with for literally years, and we've all been like raging, like, come on Yu, come on Yu, end this man's existence? Is it actually happening? Well, I think that this is definitely the end of the relationship in its current form, but I'm not sure that this is going to be the end of Guren. Obviously, when I reacted to this, I had that very emotional response of, yes, Yu is finally kicking Guren's ass, take his head off. You get what you fucking deserve. But obviously that was me wearing the rose-tinted glasses. That was me seeing what I wanted to see in the moment. So now that I'm reflecting on it, I'm not sure it's quite like that. From a character arc standpoint, I wanted Yu to break free of Guren. Yu is a love-starved character, and he will take love in whatever form it comes to him. And Guren, for the longest time, has been his only form of love, twisted though it might have been. It's completely understandable considering the trauma that Yu has been through. And I want him to break free from Guren and to realise that abuse is not love. Whether that is by killing Guren, whether that is by walking away, I wanted him to have a clean break. Also, you don't really want an abuse survivor shrugging off what their abuser has done to them and like returning to them. So that's why I wanted, and I still want, a clean break between Yu and Guren. I'm not sure though that that's exactly what we're going to get, and I wonder if what we're seeing here is actually Yu taking control of Guren, not breaking free of him, but sort of bringing him to heel. And I say this for a couple of reasons. So the first thing that I would point out is the timing of this confrontation is very strange. I thought that if the rug was going to be pulled from underneath Guren and the great plan of bullshit was going to be, turned on its head, I thought that was going to come like right at the end. This seems a little bit premature to me. I feel like Guren still has a part to play here because the great plan of bullshit is still in his head. So if Kagami kills him off now, I mean, it would be a great troll move. If he removes him from the story, it'll be a great troll move. Keep the dollar bill on the string a little bit more so that we still don't know what the great plan of BS is. But it just doesn't feel like the right time to get rid of Guren from the story. So that's why I still think that he is going to play a part. Also, Yu's behaviour in the chapter suggests more that this is not him emotionally rejecting Guren. This is something more calculated. The aim of the confrontation remains firmly on the yes or no answer. Even when they're crossing swords, Yu is saying to Guren, give me yes or give me no. It's about that questioning, it's about getting the answers, about the grand plan. That was the aim. It was never about punishing Guren for his sins. So I suspect that if Guren had played ball and if he'd answered yes to the ferried conspiracy question, I suspect that Yu might have actually sort of reluctantly accepted that answer and continued to press for more answers. I know that this might sound completely insane to some of you that are listening, because we know that Yu is an emotional character who loves his family, he's devoted to them. But hear me out, because I've thought this through. I've driven myself insane trying to think this through. It's currently 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm still fucking recording this. Bear in mind that Yu is a character who believes that the ends justify the means, just like Guren. We've seen from the conversation with Guren in Ferid's mansion that Yu is perfectly on board with the resurrection plan, and he understands the costs, the sacrifices that it might take so that that can happen. And that's why I think that even if Guren had answered yes, I think that you may have accepted that rather than flying off the handle into an emotional rage. We have seen you have emotional outbursts in the past towards Ferid, for example, when he brought out Akane's head. But think about what happened after that. He was able to control himself, wasn't he? Because there was a higher purpose, even though he hated what Ferid had done, even though he may, on some level, hate what Guren has done. And we do see that he does look angry at times during this fight. But I think that what we are witnessing here is you pushing past that rage and focusing on getting answers as per Mika's request. And that would also explain why he was willing to get in the truck at the very beginning of the chapter, because he's focused on the end goal. He's focused on the world resurrection. He's focused as well now on getting these answers because Mika has prompted him to do that. And hopefully now that he has this goal of surpassing Guren, the best way of perhaps surpassing Guren is not to kill him. Maybe the best way to do that is to beat him in a fight and bring him to heel. Maybe the best way to surpass him is to gain control of the world resurrection plan and still keep Guren on a tight leash. That wouldn't be a bad way of moving forward. But here's the thing, okay? Whether or not they decide to remove Guren from the picture completely, or whether they decide to have you take control of the situation from Guren, or even if the worst case scenario happens in chapter 112 and Guren wins this fight and Yu is horribly defeated, Yu is no longer going to be able to play the role of the compliant idiot that Guren had him down as. So in that sense, Guren's ability to manipulate Yu is done. It's over as of this chapter. Next point, the comparison between Cruel and Guren and their love for their respective charges. Okay, so I just want to examine briefly that line from Yu to Guren of, I like you, do you like me? I think that the like was meant to be love, as in parental love between a father and son. And I think they may have had a deliberate reason for changing that word over. I suspect, no proof, just gut feeling, that it was to differentiate the love that Yu has towards Guren as a father figure from the kind of love that Mika has towards Yu in 90, where the words I love you are used. It's quite ironic because, yes, on paper, like is the weaker version of the word love, but when it's being used in practice, the phrase, do you like me, is often used romantically to confess to a crush. So it's, it's like a puppy love kind of question. Do you like me? I like you. So here, I'm sure that they were trying to, lessen the weight of Yu's words towards Guren in comparison to Mika's words towards Yu. They were using like instead of love for that reason. But it actually makes it weirder. To a native English speaker, this line comes off as like a weird crush confession unless you know the context. It just doesn't quite fit. That word should have been love. It shouldn't have been like. As to why they chose to translate Mika's line towards Cruel as do you love me and not do you like me, as they did with Yu, I suspect it's because Mika has already said I love you to Yu, whereas if they'd used I love you with Yu this time around, it would have been the first time he's actually spoken those words. Anyway, getting back to the point. For the purpose of this reflection, we're going to be comparing love for love. So Cruel is the mother figure to Mika and Guren is the father figure to Yu. Really interesting parallels in the questions that are posed to them. In chapter 110, Mika asks Cruel, do you love me? Cruel replies, I don't know what that is. Yu poses the same question to Guren, do you love me? And Guren replies, yes. Which of those answers is the more honest one? I come down on the side that Cruel is the one that is giving the more honest answer there compared to Guren. Cruel kind of creates very clear boundaries with Mika. She says that he is of her clan, which suggests a kind of familial respect. But she's very upfront that she doesn't understand what love is. She does then go on to talk about her motivations and sort of desires and what she's trying to achieve with him. She's honest with him, but she still keeps that boundary in place. She's quite honest and says, yeah, I don't really know what to classify our relationship as, but she trusts him enough to talk about her motives. She doesn't try to put an emotional label on that relationship with Mika. That's different to what Guren does, because Guren seems to want to play the role of father figure and to have that sort of loving relationship with Yu, all the while whilst manipulating him. And I think that's why Guren and Yu's relationship to me comes off as more disingenuous than Cruel's relationship with Mika, which seems to have more of like a trust and respect and like a working relationship element rather than a familial love element to me. And I think that's why I like Mama Cruel more than I like Daddy Guren. And my last point on my reflections would be, we still don't know if Mika remembers Guren killed him. It still hasn't come up. I wonder if Yu is still blocking that memory from Mika, and he is preventing Mika from seeing that in order to spare him the pain of remembering what Guren did. I'm hoping it's that. I'm hoping that it's going to be addressed as a separate point later on, that Guren attacked Mika, because it deserves to be addressed as a separate point. Guren stuck his sword through the person that Yu loves most in the whole wide world. It deserves its own place in the story to be addressed. I'm hoping that Kagami lets us have that. Please let us have that. Maybe if Mika ends up possessing Yu, he might then see that memory. And I want Yu to maybe apologise that he didn't listen to Mika before. Because I'm hoping that the fact that he's listened to him in this chapter is him learning from that past mistake where he didn't listen to Mika previously, which resulted in Mika getting killed. Predictions for next chapter then, if I dare. I suppose the question on everybody's lips is Yu going to win this fight against Guren? I'm going to give a cautious yes. I should learn not to hope, I know, but I can't help myself. The reason why I'm saying yes is because if Seraph is nearing the end of the story, then when else is Yu going to get this chance to defeat Guren in this way? But we also should take into consideration that Ferid and Crawl are nearby, so they could well interrupt things, and you've also got Shikama and Saito in the background somewhere, so they should come into play in the near future too. So yeah, I'm cautiously hopeful, but I'm fully prepared for my hopes to be completely dashed as Guren pulls a victory out of the bag because it's him and genius Mahiru against our two lovable idiots. So let's see. Okay, so that was my reflection on chapter 111 of Seraph of the End. My goodness, there was a lot to get into there. I had a lot of fun, and I think my brain has been turned inside out. If you're still with me, well done for powering through. And if you enjoyed, please hit that like button, comment and subscribe. You can also connect with me on social media. I'll put the links in the description below, and you can also support me on Patreon if you feel so inclined. And with that, guys, please, you take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one. Farewell.